And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. Today I want to talk about the prevention of re-centralization. The prevention of re-centralization. There's one blind spot that I see that happens probably second to sales and marketing blind spot, and that is re-centralization. You know, you've heard me preach about this, harp, shout it from the mountaintops, if you will, that in order for us to drive the value of our companies, we have to decentralize ourselves. We have to remove ourselves as business owners from the epicenter of our business. We have to position the business where it can function without us. One of the questions that I often ask business owners is this: if you were hit by a car tomorrow, heaven forbid, but if you were, what would your business do? And as I look into their faces, many times it's bewilder. It's, oh my goodness. Okay, I have life insurance for my family. If I'm not killed, then I have disability insurance if I'm able to work, but my business is done. And so in that realization, we begin the process of decentralization, moving the business owner from the epicenter of the business so that we turn this business into, well, a business. Before that, it's just a job. It's a job, and as Michael Gerber says in his book, E-Myth, we're working for a lunatic ourselves. So we want to create this business where it is autonomous, where it works without us. So what do? We start building systems and processes and training key employees, and we're moving along. We're working really hard, and years go by, and we start disconnecting and letting things go, and then it happens. It happens. A key customer leaves. A key employee leaves. The economy tanks. And our mind is put back into that early days of our business where, oh my goodness, we roll our sleeves up, we pull ourselves up by the bootstrap, and we jump in the middle of our business yet again to fix the business. We re-centralize ourselves. We put ourselves right back in the thing that we've been working so hard to remove ourselves from. Let's talk about this. So first of all, what is re-centralization? Well, I think you can probably ascertain by now. Recentralization is the consolidation of operations and decision-making privileges by the owner or upper management of an organization after they previously had delegated them to another. In a nutshell, you have decided within your business you're not going to be the chief salesperson any longer. You were in the early days, and now you realize that in order to drive the multiple of your business, in order to get top dollar for your business from an exit strategy, you have to remove yourself as the chief salesperson. And lo and behold, that key customer walks out, and you're left wondering, oh my goodness, what did our sales team do? And what do? You jump right back in and take the reins of the sales department. You have just re-centralized yourself. Or maybe, just maybe, you have delegated a particular action step over to a manager, to a VP, to a lower management person, to an employee, whoever it is. You've given them this authority to make decisions on this, and now you didn't like the decision, so you jump back in and you re-centralize yourself. Re-centralization is a reversing of decentralization. It is putting yourself back into the business. So if we understand that, then we have to ask the question, well, why do we do it? If we know that removing ourselves from the epicenter of the business drives the value, why do we do it? I have to tell you, there's two things I've learned in life that drive every one of us, and that is fear and pride. Fear and pride. It's one of the two. Let's deal with it. If it's pride, many times it's because we have the attitude that, hey, we are the best person in this particular niche. I am the best salesperson. I can remember not too long ago, about 3 years ago, whenever I was releasing the sales of our company. I've spoke about this on the podcast in recent episodes, and I can remember listening to the new sales team as they were taking the process that I'd put in force and using these processes. They just hadn't yet developed the skills to deploy the processes to the fullest. I had been doing this process for over a decade, and they for over a week. And I listened to them and I went, oh my goodness, they're not going to land this client. And they didn't. And it was a sizable client. It was one that would easily have paid their entire year's salary. I can remember my gut saying, Justin, you can do this. Jump in and close this case. You automatically have that salesperson's salary met. I had relinquished control, but my pride said, I know I can do this. And candidly, I could have. I knew how to handle that particular situation. So I let my pride. The other one is fear. Oh my goodness. Fear of missing out on the sale. Think about the same example. I've got a new salesperson in place. He's got a potential client that he's communicating with. I know I can close it. And I'm scared that if he doesn't close the deal, I'm not going to be able to meet his compensation as I promised him. It was a fear. So pride and fear ought to motivate us to re-centralization. Another one is the unwilling to balance quality and growth. You have to balance the two of those. What do you mean? There comes a time when the issue of growth seems to match or outweigh the benefits of growth. So then we deal with quality. And when we decentralize ourselves from the company or from a particular position, we can see the growth of the company. But what we're also doing is we're driving quality inside the company. And if we don't balance the concept of growth of the business with quality in the business, then we cause ourselves to re-centralize. We cause ourselves to jump back into the fray. Another reason, and probably one let me just say that, not probably, one that I have been guilty of many times is emergencies, bad stress. Without exception. There are times whenever, as a business owner, you just jump back in because things are on fire. I've asked myself many times after the fire had diminished, did I really need to be involved in that? Or was that just my innate understanding of the circumstance without the trusting the system or the team? How many times have you jumped back into the fire only to realize your team already had it under control? I get it. I mean, I understand. It's our business. It's our livelihood. It's our name. It's our reputation. It's our net worth. I get it. I have made so many poor decisions under bad stress or emergencies. And that's how re-centralization comes about. So how do we prevent it? How do we prevent us taking 3 steps forward and 4 steps back? Because that's what happens. If you jump back in, you're not going back to where you began. You're going back further because now you've demotivated your team. So how do we prevent it? Number one is quality control. Quality control, building processes to make sure that whatever your service or your product is has good QC to it. You're trying to maintain your company standard in the eyes of the team and the eyes of the customer. There's a method to madness. You may use X-bar. You may use 100% inspection methodologies. There are a number of methods or ways to ensure quality control. But nonetheless, you have to ensure quality control if you're going to prevent yourself from re-centralizing into the business. In 1986, Motorola Incorporation introduced Six Sigma. Six Sigma. You've probably heard of it. It's basically a QC method, a quality control methodology used from a 5-factor approach. And it's there to define, measure, analyze, improve, and control the company's product. There's a lot of methodologies you can use. But what if you're in the service-based industry? You don't have a product, so to say. You can't basically track the returns. You're actually doing a service, kind of like our companies. We provide a service for people. Well, the way you handle quality control in a service business is through standard operating procedures, SOPs. We spoke about those a few weeks ago. It's providing each person within the company who's delivering the service specific, detailed, consistent quality of the task they need to build the sum total of the service the customer is going to get. So use SOPs. You can, in a service environment, you can create a happy team or a content team. If your employee base is content, your customer base will be content. If your employee base is not content, your customer base will not be content. It's as simple as that. Woolworth years ago talked about this. Marriott years ago talked about this. We can add quality control and we can prevent re-centralization just through simple SOPs and impacting the culture of our team. Well, then we've got fires, right? We all deal with fires. Whenever the fire comes up, because they're going to come up, Tomorrow you're going to have a fire in your business that you're going to want to jump in and fix it. It happened to me twice yesterday. It happens almost every day. When a fire comes up, how do you prevent jumping back into the fray? How do you prevent jumping back in and re-centralizing yourself in the business? The simple answer is robust systems, robust processes, robust SOPs, employees who have been trained in those. I'm reminded years ago of a decision tree that I saw, and it was one that was built for the financial industry. I was trying to relate to my wife why we might consider using a Roth IRA over an IRA. And this decision tree started out with a couple, and it talked about their income. Then it had, if yes, go here. If no, go here. And then on each one of those no's and yeses, it had another question. If yes, go here. If no, goes here. And whenever I looked at this decision tree, it filled up a board. I mean, it had hundreds of yeses and nos in boxes. You can almost see it in your mind's eye. If you make more than this particular amount of money, are you eligible for contribution? Yes or no, go here. If you make less than this amount of money, are you eligible for contribution? Yes or no, go here. And you could just kind of see the myriad of questions. There were literally dozens of questions with yes or no answers in boxes being connected by lines and arrows and movements. What that was a process. In your business, you have to map out the process. You have to map them out. Not long ago, I did an episode about mapping out your sales process. In it, I explained how you must record each step. You've got to test it and you've got to adjust for it. However, you can't stop there. That was an introductory into processes. First, the process can and should be repeated for each department in your business. I just was addressing sales. You need to do the same thing for quality control, for employee onboarding, for employee offboarding, for the QC. There's so many things inside your business that need processes. So you need to create a process for every area of your business. Second, you don't just simply pass the information along to a couple of key employees within the organization. No, people catch more things than they're taught. You have to constantly show, reinforce, illustrate, demonstrate. You have to constantly repeat. What does it say? Repetition is the mother of all learning. We have to do that with our workforce. They have to understand through constant, almost a brainwashing effect of how the processes work. Just this morning in front of me today, I'm having a cup of Chick-fil-A coffee. Chick-fil-A coffee. I call it God sandwich because their values, their Christian values they have. But whenever you go to Chick-fil-A, if you've never been there, it's a restaurant chain that serves chicken sandwiches and chicken breakfast sandwiches. And on this particular cup of coffee this morning, I went through and got me a chicken sandwich and a cup of black coffee, because you don't put cream in coffee. It's black, no sugar. And I said, thank you. And immediately, within a moment's notice, just within a split second, the young man named Cody behind the window said, "It's my pleasure, Justin." That is a process that has been brainwashed into every person that works at that company. You have to do the same in your company. Once your team has caught, "It's my pleasure, Justin," once they've caught that particular process, then you build cross-training. I have to say that if Cody were sick today, that there would have been another person at that window as I drove through to get this cup of black coffee. They would have said, "It's my pleasure, Justin," because they've been cross-trained. One of the areas that I see re-centralization more than anything for a business owner is the sales department. You are the chief salesperson. You know how to sell. You know your product. You know your service. You've been working with your customers of your business for perhaps decades like I have been. And now you've released. Friends, until you nail down your process, you've brainwashed, if you will. I'm using that, not physically, obviously, but I'm using that as an illustration to drive the point home, until it becomes second nature to your team about this process, where they can say, "It's my pleasure, Justin," at the window when you're getting a cup of black coffee from Chick-fil-A. Until you've done that, the fire is going to continue to entice you to jump back into your system. And if you jump back into the systems of your business and re-centralize yourself, you've just set yourself back in business. You've just cost yourself that hard-earned multiple increase that you've been working for to drive the value of your company. Friends, I implore you, please, please do not re-centralize yourself. Don't do it. Your team, your customers, the health of your business is incumbent on you decentralizing, removing yourself from the epicenter of the business. And that is hard. If we had a therapy session right now, I would say what I just described in this episode is one of the hardest things you've got to do in business. It's harder than HR services, and we all know how painful HR is trying to help our employees accomplish their dreams. We know how painful that is. But this concept of re-centralizing ourselves into the company, man, it's tough. It's tough. So let me admonish you this way. Life is hard. Decentralizing ourselves from the company is hard. It is. But fighting the temptation and the gut and almost your innate ability, the very thing that makes you tick to jump back into the company, re-centralize yourself back into that maybe perhaps top salesperson role, that's harder than decentralization. It's hard, but you can do it. Hey, look, if this country boy who grew up on a dirt road in South Georgia and lives on a gravel road in East Tennessee, if I can do it, there's nothing that you can't do. My goodness, I think about just my life and how blessed I am and how stupid I am at the same time. Friends, if I can decentralize myself and not go back, you can. You can, because I'm one bullheaded, stubborn guy. I am. I know me. I've lived with myself for over 40 years. If I can do this, you can do it. But it's not going to be easy. You're going to have somebody to help you. Get you a coach. Get somebody beside you that can help you during these times. If you need somebody, reach out. We can help. Friends, life is hard. It is, but life is good. Man, we're so blessed. We are so blessed. I was thinking about today as Cody was giving me this cup of coffee, the opportunity that I can drive in East Tennessee through a restaurant, ask for a cup of hot coffee, give them a little bit of money, and they give me something. I drive my merry way. That in and of itself, what a blessing. There are people all over the world that don't have that luxury. I am a blessed individual. You are a blessed individual. We're blessed. And it can be frustrating sometimes. Yes, I get it. We all live different lives and it's frustrating. It doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and make it a great one.